down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to another episode of the Scoreboard. We are in week 4 of the UFL spring football season. Smokey, your team is 0-3, and how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm going to say I'm better than Roughnecks fans because I am still not worried about the Renegades. They absolutely dominated that game, and if it wasn't for a particular rule that the UFL has in place, they would have won that game. Easily, they should have won. They outproduced the defenders by double in most of the measurables in that game. They absolutely should have won. It was a robbery, and I'm still not worried about the Renegades. I think they still win the XFL. They just have to beat, most of the teams coming up now at this point. Yes, I was worried when it first happened. I was thinking, oh God, why are they just giving these games away? But when I went back and watched that game, I realized the Renegades are one of the best teams in this league. They're playing that good. Luis Perez is absolutely that good. It's just a robbery at this point in time. We'll see how it plays out. If they lose another one, I have to change that opinion because they're not going to go over 500 at that point because we're close to halfway through the season already. And it's depressing because I watched them play and I'm like, this is a really good team. Probably the second to third best in the league. They're just not winning. So it is what it is. How are you, Alex?
I am better than almost every team's fan in this league because my team is the only remaining 3-0. I also would like to notice that I hope you understand that you are playing with fire with how you're opening these videos because you're playing the Roughnecks this week. Yeah. If you lose, there is no worse team in the league. So you have no one to be better than next week if you lose. So you better hope you win. Hope you win. So you have something to say. Otherwise, you probably can't. You have to call in sick next week. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Tuesday afternoon, I get a call. I sorry, I can't make it.
Well, if they lose this game, I will talk about it. The only thing that worries me about the Roughnecks is they do have a decent defense, but they have no offensive production. I have no worries at all that the Renegades will win this game, but we will break it down.
No worries at all.
No.
Okay, I am very curious to hear about those non-existent worries when we get into it. But it's the last game. Tank Bowl is, I guess, prime time last game this week. We have some good ones to open it, though. So let's start with the 1-2 boats. Slightly disappointing there, and a 2-1 Battlehawks.
Well, this is a tough one, really, because I think the Showboats are probably better than their record at this point in time. They've had a rough outing the last couple of weeks, but we saw in week 1 they are a really good team overall. Case Cookus and Troy Williams split the time this past week. AJ McCarron still looks good for the Battlehawks. That's a fact at this point. Like, I try to deny it because I know how much you like AJ McCarron, and he was an Alabama quarterback, so I try to deny it through hyperbole, but yeah, there's no denying at this point. Probably the best. You can say what you want about the Stallions quarterbacks, but AJ McCarron's probably the best quarterback. I want to say next to Luis Perez, but I know you're going to push back on that. So I will say AJ McCarron is the best in the league at this point. The rushing game was shut down for the Boats this past week. It was a horrible outing for the run game. Sage Surratt got involved, which is good because I love spring league tight ends for some reason. I don't know why. I've always had that affection to the tight end in general. And it's always amazed me when a spring league tight end can just break out. So hopefully we'll see more of him. Battlehawks have absolutely no tight end production. They refuse. I guess AJ McCarron hates tight ends or something. Jake Sutherland is the guy. I think he's had 2 catches on the entire season so far. He had 1 in this past game, and he was non-existent 2 weeks ago. Hakeem Butler was back out there at wide receiver, and Darius Shepard. They both looked really good. The Battlehawks are 2-1. And as much as I want the Showboats to win this one, this being in St. Louis, I can't really go with the Showboats. It'll be nice if they do win, and if Case Cook is Troy Williams actually probably will start this. I'm guessing. They still have Josh Love on the roster there too. So,
really?
Yeah, I was looking that up. I was like, why have we not seen Josh Love? But apparently he's still on the roster. I don't know if he's injured or what. But yeah, this game right here, I'm going to go with the Battlehawks.
Yeah, give me the Battlehawks as well. This team has the biggest home field advantage in the league by far. You can expect 40 to 50,000 people. They have an average attendance about the same as some NFL teams. So you can expect that that'll play a role every time they play in St. Louis. Battlehawks are going to win this one. They got themselves back on track after dropping one, unfortunately. But I think AJ McCarron, that offense is getting into a role now. He still has those big, physical, deep ball receivers that he's had this is a third year now of these guys playing together as a team. So the chemistry is there, and it's a big advantage that this offense has over some of these other teams that have gotten a lot more reshuffled. So I do believe in the Battlehawks as well. Case Cook is his first year with Memphis, so he's learning a new offense. He's playing with new people. That's definitely a disadvantage when we have teams that get sort of reconstituted every year, or so far have been in large points been redrafted every year. Advantage Battlehawks there. I do think the Boats are better than their record, but also how long are we justified in saying that? Because they just got blown out really badly. Granted by the Stallions, but still you got blown out. So as a top team, if you're looking to make a real push for that USFL championship, there's not that many other teams, so you have to be able to compete with the Stallions as well if you want to be that sort of team. The Boats need this win pretty badly, because otherwise it looks like Birmingham's just running away with it in that division. But the Battlehawks are locked in this tie for first place with two other teams, so they need it too. I'm going Battlehawks. I think I trust AJ McCarron more. I trust the whole offense more. I trust the coaching more. Plus, they're playing at home in St. Louis, and they are favored by a full touchdown, which I think is probably justified, which to me is the second best team in the league right now. But we'll talk about that when we get into the power rankings. Later on is the Battlehawks. I forgot to ask you about our prediction standings before we went into this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course, we picked all the exact same teams last week, so we all got 3. The Arlington Renegades are the only ones that let us down in the end, even though they were much better than the Defenders. They still lost that point for us. 3 each for last week, bringing the total 6 for me and 8
and they
for
let
you.
me down even more than you, because I gave them the pick out of courtesy, right? I said, listen, I'm going to extend the olive branch and I will pick the Renegades here against a weak Defenders team, and I was punished for that. So I'm having, I actually have a lot, like, no spoilers, but this last game is the hardest one for me to pick this week. I spent most time on that one, and that's in no way positive. But let's
we'll
see about that. Let's move on to game number 2, and this is not a rematch, but it's a rematch of what probably should have been the USFL XFL championship from last season. The Defenders obviously lost that XFL championship after they stormed through the whole league, but Defenders at the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, that was the argument throughout the season, basically, is the Defenders were the number 1 team in the XFL last year until the very last game, the championship game, and the Stallions have been the number 1 team in the USFL since its reincarnation here, and there's nothing is stopping them. Like, through the power of Satan, Skip Holtz has the best team once again in a spring league, and there's no doubt about it. I don't think there's any team in this league that can beat them. It's going to be a runaway championship once again, probably undefeated unless some fluky thing happens. Maybe they get hit with the 4th and 12 rule in one of these games and end up losing, but I really don't see it happening right off the top. The Defenders, I'm sure their fans are really excited about this 2-1 record, because they also have a lot of fans too. Maybe the second highest attendance. I haven't really looked at the figures this season, but I know last year they were the second highest attendance in the entire XFL. Jordan Te'amo is not looking good, though. Regardless of the win or not, 11 for 24 for 188 yards is not impressive. No interceptions. I'll give him that. There was not many interceptions at all last week. It was really an offensive output. Yeah, for the entire league last week. Like, a lot of scoring. It's like they walked back, almost like they listened to our podcast last week when I said, hey, these defensive battles are going to hurt attendance and viewership. And they said, oh, we can fix that. Here's a lot of scoring. And they did. Ty Scott and Kelvin Harmon was the main wide receivers for the Defenders last week. No Abram Smith at running back still. They're still using Cameron Harris as the bell cow there. Reggie Barlow, I like Reggie Barlow, but this team is not looking good regardless of their 2-1 record. These Stallions, I don't even have to list off these names. Jay Sternberger, Deion Kane, CJ Marable, Ricky Person. They got the best 2 running backs in the league, even though they don't really even need them. They got the second best tight end in the league. Adrian Martinez, I will say that somehow every single quarterback the Stallions throw out there is the best in the league out of nowhere. The number 3 on their roster right now has won a championship. This makes absolutely no sense. Stallions, easily, they are going to dominate and blow out the Defenders.
Not only won a championship, but started that season and been the best quarterback in the league that season. That's how stacked they are. And here's the Stallions superstar of the week for you, as every week. You can look across that defense, but Chiava Tezzino played for the Pittsburgh Maulers last year, and he was a pretty fearsome duo with Reuben Foster, and he arguably was the better player of the two. During last year's campaign, long parts, of course, Foster had to deal with injuries, but he is also on the Stallions. Learn something new every day or every week or whatever. Yeah, Stallions are going to win. They are now undefeated, I believe, 8 straight games or even 9, so they're looking for that 10 game undefeated streak, which seems very plausible now, the way that they've started into the year. They're still looking like the best team. They are the best team. They've been ranked 1 from the very start, and they've shown that they are the best team, not only in the ex-USFL, but also in spring football in general. 33rd best pro football team in the world, basically. And they're going to continue proving that they are by defeating the Defenders here. Tamu, he had his best game, and when he has a good game, they can win. They've shown it, although it was close and definitely not to your liking by 1 point. He didn't make that back-breaking mistake he made in the first 2 games, throwing the pick sixes. This time he didn't do it. He took care of the ball, added some extra offense on the ground, which is one of his strengths, and that ultimately got the Defenders over the hump against the Renegades. But Stallions, whole different caliber, so Birmingham takes it at home. And attendance-wise, by the way, these 2 teams are pretty close neck and neck for the second spot after the Battlehawks. So both of these had pretty good attendance, and they're sort of battling it out for second most viewed. And I hope that the Stallions can set a new high in that regard this weekend, because the product is amazing. There's no pro football otherwise in Alabama, so why not go to games? Tickets are like $20, right, for the UFL. So the product is good. Tickets are super cheap. I hope a lot of people turn up, and the weather's good. So let's hope we have a packed stadium there. Panthers, yeah.
Oh, one thing about that, the attendance for the Stallions, I don't know if they knew it when they were making the schedule, but they actually put that game up against the Alabama spring game, which was a really bad move, because they draw 40,000-50,000 people just to the spring game there in Alabama. So yeah, probably not a good move. It hurt their attendance somewhat, but I'm sure it'll be right back up to normal.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know why you would do that. I also don't know why you would go to an Alabama spring game over a Stallions actual UFL game. I know, established fan base and all that, but it's a spring game, and it's college. I get that it's like a big deal. Like come November, December, it's huge. But I mean, this is the best non-NFL football team on the planet that you get to watch for arguably cheaper than a college football game. I don't know. I would go to a Stallions game any day over an Alabama spring game. That's for sure.
Yeah, a game that has no implications whatsoever. Yeah, but the Alabama football is the juggernaut in that state. They don't have a pro team. Well, they do now, actually, yeah. But they don't see it that way. They see Alabama Crimson Tide first and foremost. So, yeah, it is what it is. Maybe they'll come around. Maybe we need another season or two.
I hope so. This league establishes itself, and I think that'll be good for everyone. We have the Panthers here at the San Antonio Brahmas in what might be one of the closest games of the weekend.
Yeah, I think so. Both of these teams are 2-1 at this point. EJ Perry can't pass still, and they win games when they don't let him pass much. He threw the ball, what did he throw, 19 times, I believe, last week, and a really high passer rating because he only threw the ball a few times. And that's the way you need to do it. He is extremely mobile. The guy ran 9 times for 60 yards, which is really good for a quarterback if you're not aware of that. Outproduced on the ground every running back they have, and that includes Wes Hills and Matt Colburn. He was electric on the ground. He's just not that great of a passer. So if you limit him, this team is going to do very well. Just let him do his options and whatever, and then you'll win more games. Chase Gabers is actually coming back down to earth after that week 1 game. Maybe even week 2, you could say, because they got that lucky win. But yeah, other than that, I don't see a lot of high spots for this past week outside of Cody Latimer. And I feel like this team is trending down. I think the Brahmas are trending down at this point. And I think it's gonna crash. I mean, I want to think that they can do good, but everybody can't be that good. Yeah. But on the Panthers, Trey Quinn is still my favorite wide receiver in this league, and he is showing that he needs to be the number 1. Cole Hecatini had 1 catch, which they hadn't been featuring tight ends in the passing game also, but maybe they'll start to use Cole a little bit more. Mike Nolan has this team in a good shape to beat the Brahmas here. I will take the Panthers on the road.
This one's tough. Real difficult one. Judging from last week, man, I have a tough time really making my mind up about both these teams. The Panthers, for the first time, looked good. Actually good this whole year. First 2 games were a struggle, but then this one, you can say it was just the Roughnecks, right? That's the team they beat. Is that the standard you want to measure yourself by? Probably not. The Brahmas just fell behind way too early against the Battlehawks and just never managed to rally back. After the first half, the game felt, even though it was just a 1-score game, but due to like how the scoring works in the USFL, it felt over almost the whole game. I watched that game, the Hawks Brahmas game. It felt over almost after halftime. It felt over. It wasn't, mathematically speaking, but it felt that way the whole time. Because they just never really managed to get close. Their final drive never really managed to catch up to the speed that they needed it to. So this, for me, is like a crossroads game. If we look at both these teams, I think a lot of their fate for the season can be decided by who wins this one. For the Panthers, it's very important to keep up with the Stallions, who seem to be juggernauts again, so they need the win. For the Brahmas, the XFL division is super tight, and you want to get one of those top 2 spots. So you also do have to win, because you expect St. Louis to win. Very difficult for me to pick. Can you remind me which team you picked? You picked the Panthers. Okay. You know what? Give me Brahmas then. Mm-hmm. I'll take the Brahmas just purely to be contrarian, purely to have some competition here, which usually during NFL season ends up breaking my back toward the later quarter of the season, because I start doing that when I have a 3-point lead and then I'm losing silly games. But even though at the risk of that happening, that exact same thing happening again, give me the Brahmas. I think Chase Garbers still has a lot to show. And even though they lost, he played an all right game. He played fine. Of course, they relied on the run a little bit more than they used to in previous games in this one. But he has the receivers. He has the skill positions around him to make it work. And I don't trust EJ Perry or a potential quarterback controversy looming for the Panthers, because this is like the third game already that they at least at one point brought in the backup. Just don't seem fully comfortable. Even though EJ Perry, he might just lead the league in rushing touchdowns actually, because he's always seems to do it on the ground in the red zone. Man, I don't know if I can trust him with the ball in his hands though when it comes down to it in close games. Too many times so far I haven't. Blowing out the Roughnecks is not a standard to measure yourself by. I will take the team with the so far more impressive slate, even though they're the same record. The Brahmas have the more impressive wins, so I will take the Brahmas to get it done here, and they are at home against the Panthers. Now, the ultimate tank bowl of the season so far. Probably won't be a more tanky tank bowl coming up this year, actually, after 3 weeks. The 0-3 Renegades at the 0-3 Roughnecks.
A team that is good enough to be, well, can't say 3-0 because they played the Stallions in the first game, but at least 2-1. The Renegades should be 2-1 right now. They have outplayed their opponents, and they just haven't had the luck in the end. Like I said earlier, thanks to some rules of this league that needs to be changed.
What?
For sure. Oh, you don't think they need to change that?
They might have to adjust it. Like, if you look back after the season and you say, okay, it like the 4th and 12th thing works like 35% of the time. Yeah, that's too much, right? You don't want it to be that reliable. So what you do is you move it to 4th and 15, and then it works 20% of the time, and then you have it where you want it to be. So you adjust it, you fine tune it over the course of 1 or 2 years, and then you have a system that is just better than the onside kick. But the rule applies to both teams, though, right? If, like, you get scored on last second, you can also do that yourself if you're the Renegades. It's not that, like, only the Renegades' opponents get to make use of that rule. If you're a good team, you should defend a 4th and 12. And if you can't defend a 4th and 12, well, at least stop the game-winning drive, right? So you can't blame that on the rule. It's not like it's an unfair thing like the NFL overtime coin toss used to be.
Well, here's the thing is that defenses are tired in the fourth quarter. Like, if this was in play the entire game, it would make more sense. And it's only for the losing team that is able to take advantage. Like, if the Renegades were able to take advantage of that rule early in the game when they're leading by 10 points or whatever, then, this game would have probably went completely different. And that's the point. They were leading outside of that 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. They took the lead and they were dominating this entire game. 419 yards total offense for the Renegades to 259 yards for the Defenders. Passing yards, 296 for the Renegades to 177 for the Defenders. Rushing yards, 123 to 82. They absolutely dominated. The time of possession was way in favor of the Renegades. First downs, 24 for the Renegades, 16 for the Defenders. It makes absolutely no sense that, I heard another podcast make this comparison that it's kind of like watching WWE when you see something like this happen. The one person is absolutely dominating the entire game, and then by the luck of some fluke at the very end, the good guy gets the win. I guess they see the Defenders as the good guy somehow. And the Renegades are apparently the Hills in that position, but they should have won that game. There's no doubt about it. I said this team is this good because watching them play, they are that good. If you believe the Battlehawks are number 2, they went toe-to-toe with the Battlehawks and almost beat them. Like, I get it. Some people only look at the win and loss record and say, oh, that team sucks. They're 0-3. No, this team is really good. They absolutely are. They just had bad breaks, and it hasn't gone their way yet. Bob Stoops will get this team in line. I still think the Renegades win the XFL division. They are good enough to. Can't promise you, but I would put money on it myself. I'm not telling anyone else to. But the odds are probably really good right now if you put money on the Renegades winning the XFL. If you can find those odds. The only thing I saw were championships odds. And I definitely don't want to put money on them beating the Stallions. But I still think they can win the XFL. Sal Cannella looked great. Tyler Vaughn looks great. Luis Perez is the most accurate spring league quarterback throughout the past 3 to 4 seasons. This team is good. If maybe they need a better rotation on defense. Maybe they can make some trades and get a little bit of rotational pieces. But on the other side, it's the Roughnecks. If you can't beat the Roughnecks, I don't care if they bring back Garantano, if Kenji Bahar shows up and starts, Reed Sinet, if he's out there, this team is easily beatable. If the Brahmas can blow them out, the Renegades have to blow them out if they're going to have any shot at winning that division. And they should, and they're going to.
Man, if you want to play the numbers, the stat numbers game, by the way, add in return yards as well, because the defenders had some very good kick returns in that game, whereas the Renegades struggle with that a little bit. So you have to put that into consideration also. But man, it's a tank bowl for sure, so it's difficult for me to really make up my mind on it. I trusted the Renegades last week. That is the thing. I trusted them last week to get it done against the Defenders team, which was 1-1, which I thought was weak, and I did not believe that they could go anywhere. And Jordan Ta'amu, he did pull out the best game of his season so far. That's one thing he did. But other than that, the Renegades, it wasn't like they were dominating scoring-wise. They weren't even leading for most of the game, or for like part of the game. They weren't leading. So yeah, a lot of yards, but nothing really came of it. They didn't really go into the red zone all that much. Didn't have many 3-and-outs. That's one thing. But effectively, you got to end up scoring. And also take care of your conversions after you score, because that's a big part of the UFL game as well. I have a hard time picking the Renegades again after I did, and I sunk a point into them because I trusted them. But then again, this is the only team I can possibly do this against. And I will one more time I will listen to you. I will take the Renegades to beat the Roughnecks, but woe if they don't. I mean, I'm not picking them again if they lose this one, that's for sure. If you manage to lose the Roughnecks, there is no coming back from that. And also, if they lose next week, I need you to come on here and say that you're better than the Renegades fans. And I also need you to admit that they are not winning the XFL.
Okay.
If they lose.
I will take that, because if they lose to the Roughnecks somehow, I will admit that, because obviously they're not as good as I thought they were. I don't know how they're not, because you watch these games, you see the offensive production. If their defense falls apart somehow, that's the only way the Roughnecks are going to win this game. But yes, if they lose this game, I will absolutely change my mind that they are not winning the XFL. They have to win. This is a must-win game.
This is the lowest hanging fruit you're going to get in the whole league. So better make it count, Luis Perez. I know he's an established quarterback in the spring leagues. I don't agree with you that he's been the best over the last few years. That would be AJ McCarron.
Most accurate.
Consistently speaking.
Most accurate.
That's because McCarron throws deep, right? He has more incompletions because he throws more beyond the sticks.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I said McCarron is the Peyton Manning out of spring football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I said. So he's the Peyton Manning. What did we say Perez was? The Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins, yeah.
Yeah, something like that, right? That's kind of fair. Kind of fair to me. McCann throws Steve more. He has the bigger and faster receivers to do that with also.
Hey, if the Renegades were 2-1 right now instead of 0-3, people would absolutely be talking about Luis Perez also in the MVP race.
I don't fully disagree with that. You're not wrong. He does lead the league in passing yards. Mm-hmm. Statistically speaking, he's having a fine year. But that's also very reminiscent of Kirk Cousins, who statistically speaking has a lot of very good years. But when's the last time he won a playoff game? I don't remember either. Mm-hmm. If he ever... did he ever? Did Kirk Cousins ever win a playoff game?
Well, the Washington team actually went to the playoffs one year while he was there, but I think they got knocked out in the wild card or something. And
the Vikings have won it a few times.
Of course, the Vikings fell apart 2 seasons ago after having a phenomenal season until the very end, and then they fell apart and lost.
Famously lost to the Giants. Mm-hmm. 2019, they got destroyed by the Niners. I remember that very well. Mm-hmm. That was in the divisional round, though. So that means they would have won one game before that. So Possibly 5 years ago, Kirk Cousins won his last playoff game. I mean, Luis Perez won a championship last year. Not much to speak of, right? This year so far. I will put my faith into you and your team one more time. One final time, and only because it's the Roughnecks. Nothing that you have said has convinced me of the Renegades in any way. I need you to know that. But they're playing the Roughnecks, and so that's why I'm taking them. They are favored on the road by 2.5 points. Gotta count for something. I guess their losses were less bad. That's the best thing I can say about them. Their losses were less bad than the Roughnecks.
Oh, well, that's obvious. Yeah. I don't think there's any team, outside of the Stallions that's going to blow out the Renegades. They may not win them all, but no one's going to blow them out outside of the Stallions, that's for sure. And I don't want you to buy into it. I want you to tell me how bad the Renegades are, because that's going to make the vindication that much sweeter when it happens.
When they win the XFL?
Yes, absolutely.
And they are already 2 games behind all 3 teams in their conference.
Which will make it that much sweeter when it happens.
It won't be that much longer until it's mathematically impossible for them to win. Because that means they need all of the other teams to get losses, which is difficult when they play each other too.
Oh,
so they gotta pick it up, and they gotta hope that, I mean, all the others lose, right? They need the Battlehawks defenders, Brahmas, all to lose to kind of make it close, come within a game.
Well, they just have to beat the Battlehawks the next times they play. I mean, they have 3 losses and 7 games left, so it's not that impossible.
Okay, well, that is correct. That is true. They could end up 7-3,
or I mean, even 6-4 will possibly get them into.
Okay. I'll give you this. We haven't done bets in a while, but I'm gonna give you a chance to make a bet here. We kind of didn't do it last NFL season. Renegades end up with a losing record. Yes or no? Okay. 5 cans.
Ooh, that's a lot. I'll take that for just
number.
Over 500 or above. Okay, I'll take that.
Okay, you get the tie. Okay, so I'm gonna say losing record specifically. You can say 5-5 or winning. Okay, I'm writing that down. Very, very big. So you do have faith. You do believe in the Renegades. Well, we'll give them the win this week. After that, it's the Brahmas. Must win if you want to stay in the conference. Playing at home, maybe a good chance. After that, go to Michigan. Doable if you think they're as good as you think. Then the Showboats come to Arlington. That's winnable. And you go to San Antonio, play the Brahmas again, and then it's a showdown in Arlington this time with the Battlehawks. And then the Defenders one more time. So most of these are in-conference games. And as we've said last week, or I said last week, the Renegades have played the 2 best teams in the league in the first 2 weeks. So the worst is behind them, but they have to start winning now. That's also what that means. That's the other implication of that. They have to start winning now. Okay, I'm writing this bet down. That's a good one. I'm gladly taking that. I think they still drop at least 3. They'll lose to St. Louis again. They'll lose at least once to San Antonio. And then there's like one other one in there. Be a Michigan or like the Defenders, and they're gonna stumble somewhere. Any loss will do. But those two I'm pretty sure they'll manage to lose at least one. So I'm happy with that bet.
Well, it's obvious that they can.
Do you want to talk about?
It's obvious that they can stumble somewhere, but I have faith in a 6-4 record, but I will take you at the 5-5 also.
I have faith in at least 3 more stumbles from the Renegades. Let's see if they can make the miracle. I mean, last season they had a losing record and ended up in the championship and won it.
Yeah,
right?
because they started winning after Luis Perez got there.
That is correct. You're right. They turned the season around. So you have historical precedent to believe what you're saying. I'll give you that. But I'm going with what I've seen so far, and I'll take the 3-0 handicap in my favor. And I'm going to say they're going to stumble 3 more times out of the remaining 7 weeks. How about power rankings? And I am hesitant to ask you this because I can't wait to see where you are placing your Renegades in this one. But what are your power rankings looking like?
Man, last week I said I was just going to go with the head-to-heads and give the favor to the winning team. I cannot, in good faith after watching that game, say that the Defenders are better than the Renegades. They're not. Regardless of the final score, the Defenders are not better than the Renegades. I don't care that the Defenders are 2-1. They're not one of the best teams in this league. So that makes it really tough. One thing we're going to agree on, I suppose, is that the Stallions are still at number 1 and the Roughnecks are number 2 or number 8. Sorry.
Number 8, yeah. For at least this week, with a chance to be number 7 next week.
The Battlehawks are at number 2 right now, and I have a feeling that's going to change when they play the Renegades. So they're probably going to stay at number 2 for quite some time, because I don't think they lose to the Boats or any. I don't think they lose a game until they play the Renegades again. So I'm putting the Renegades at number 3. You're going to hate on that, of course. I think they're better than the Panthers, they're better than the Brahmas, and they're better than the Showboats, and they are better than the team they just lost to. So that's my ranking. Stallions, Battlehawks, Renegades, Panthers, Brahmas, Showboats, Defenders, and Roughnecks.
Oh, wow. Okay. The 2-1 Defenders are in 7th, and the 0-3 Renegades in 3rd.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So last week... last week, I was able to justify some of these based on expectations of the upcoming week. I don't think I can put up with this anymore. I'll say this: you said they're better than the Panthers. The UFL writers on the website, RJ Young, he's got the Panthers. I don't know if you saw it yet.
I haven't seen his rankings
at number 2.
Wow.
He's got the Panthers at 2.
Wow.
He loves the Panthers. EJ Perry had a near perfect game. We'll give him that. And he's got the Renegades at 6, which is also generous in my opinion. Now, here's my power rankings. Lock in the Stallions at 1, lock in the Roughnecks at 8. Obviously, Battlehawks at 2. To me, I prophesized it last week. I said they're going to win. They won. They pulled it off. They played the Brahmas for the number 2 spot in the league. They won. They deserve to be in that spot. This week at least. Now it gets difficult, and it's more difficult for me than it was last week, because I'm debating here between the Panthers and the Brahmas, and now I have to think about what happens this week. And looking ahead, I'm going to employ the same method, and I'm going to put the Brahmas at 3, even though they lost just now. I think they'll beat the Panthers. I picked them to beat the Panthers, so Brahmas 3, Panthers at 4, Defenders at 5. They came off the win. Say what you want. They are 2-1. Now, I can't put a winless team above a team that won a game. And even though probably next week the Bows will be 1-3, they're 1-2 now. You've spoken highly of the show, but say they're better than their record suggests. So Boats are at 6, Renegades, and then Roughnecks 7 and 8. The only right way to rank it, I think. The only really controversial thing here is the placement of the Panthers and Brahmas, to me. I think the Defenders are the worst of the 2-1 teams. I think most people would agree on that. I think the Stallions are the clear 1. I think the Battlehawks are the clear 2 after last week's game. Roughnecks and Renegades are clear 7 and 8. In whatever order, probably Roughnecks are 8. So the only point of debate to me is this placement, Panthers, Brahmas at number 3. That to me is very, very subjective, and I'm okay with either one. I am not okay with the Renegades being in the top half.
No, they are. Absolutely. So, what's it going to take? You said that the Renegades are number 7 and the Roughnecks are number 8, but that's debatable. So, what's it going to take for this win to happen in a fashion that makes you go, okay, wow, they are way better. The Renegades are way better.
The Renegades? Yeah. For that to happen, I need them, first of all, to win this one convincingly, and then also win against San Antonio next week. In 1 week, there's no way they can do that.
No, I'm saying...
Not possible.
Oh,
you mean better than the Roughnecks?
Yes, yeah, because you're putting so much into the final score rather than how they're playing. So, what if the Renegades come out and, win by 20 points or so?
That would be a good argument. Even more so if it's a low-scoring game. If the Roughnecks score 10 or less, that's what will convince me of the Renegades more than anything else. Because the defense is the weak point. They have the worst defense in the league. So if they can get it together and hold the Roughnecks to almost nothing and show some improvement in that unit. We know they can score, we know they can accumulate yards and points, but can they make a stop when they need to make a stop to win a game? So far, they have not been able to do that. So that is the most impressive thing they can do, in my opinion, is win the game something like, let's say, 20-6 or 20-3. If they do that, or 27-6 or something, if they do that, that's the most impressive way that this game can go for the Renegades. To where I would say, okay, they are clearly in a league above the Roughnecks, and the Roughnecks are just by themselves in the bottom of the barrel.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel bad for the Roughnecks at this point.
Oh, you better watch out. You can't say that before the game. You might just be feeling bad for the Renegades in a few days.
Oh, yeah.
If things go
south. If they somehow lose to the Roughnecks, which is improbable, then that would be ridiculous. And, I'll give up on the Renegades.
Yeah, you can't say that before the game.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, just compare their stats. It would make no sense for the Roughnecks to lose or to beat the Renegades.
No, it wouldn't. But you said it yourself. It didn't make sense for the Defenders to beat the Renegades, right?
It didn't. I mean,
you said it was close enough against St. Louis.
Yeah, you see how it played out though. That Defenders win was a fluke. That was a big fluke, and taking advantage of the rules, So, which is it's a horrible rule.
But do you think you don't like the rule? You don't like the system at all with the 4th and 12?
I don't think you should leave it open for a team that is getting dominated for an entire game to have a chance to win at the very end. Then your win-loss records are just all screwed up at that point. Like, how are we going to know who's the better team when the better team loses?
Well, the better team should play defense in the 4th quarter, maybe, because the other team has to. Like, with that logic, you should also abolish the onside kick, right?
Yeah.
Just make it impossible.
I mean, well, you don't have to abolish the onside kick, but that's way harder to get than this 4th and 12 when the defense is already gassed.
It's harder to get, but the reason that this is implemented is just a more creative and entertaining version for spectators and for teams and their planning than the onside kick. This is more of an expression of skill and determining who is the better team. If you can, in the clutch, convert a 4th and 12, that's a lot more earned than having an onside kick go your way, because that is purely the bounce of the ball. I would argue the onside, teams who recover an onside kick and go down to win are way more lucky with that rule set than they are with this one. Because this one, at least, you have to run an offensive play that's fully under your control, right? You can call what you can call.
Yeah.
Onside kick is just a bounce. Yeah. I agree that potentially right now it works too well for the losing team. So it's too much of not an advantage, but too little of a downside to be down in the 4th quarter and not have the ball. But that's just changed by changing the yardage. You just make it 4th and 15. Your problems are probably solved. If you get about the same rate of conversion as a regular onside kick, it's strictly better than the onside kick.
Well, we really didn't have this problem when they were at 15 instead of 12. And now that it's at 12, we've seen it twice already this season, and we're only 3 weeks into it. So, yeah, if this continues to happen week after week, and teams that should be winning are losing, then they're going to change that rule, I'm sure.
They might, if it turns out that way, but
especially if the Stallions lose the championship game because of it.
Oh yeah, don't even start that.
I mean, I would laugh.
There's no league favorites in this one. Okay, the Stallions are just good.
I don't know.
I'm not letting you plant that narrative, not at all. Even at the starting stage, I know what you were doing there. No.
If that happened, they would change that rule the day after the season ended. They're like, okay, that rule's done.
If you're a good team and you're a winning team and you win games, you defend the sticks at 4th and 12. Mm-hmm. That's just what you do, because it's the exact same as if you got into a regular drive, like a game-winning 2-minute drive kind of scenario, and you get the other team to 4th and long. You just have to defend the 4th and long. Just defend the sticks. There's no excuse. There's no exploit This just, you play defense properly.
It's exploiting the how tired the defense is. I could probably say that more articulately, but the defense is gassed that late into the fourth quarter. Absolutely. This is a spring league. There's not that many rotational pieces. And yes, I do wish the Renegades had a better defense. I wish they had more pieces that they could bring out there, fresh guys. These guys are huffing oxygen in the fourth quarter. They can't stop those types of plays. Outside of the Stallions, I don't know which team could.
If you can't stop a 4th and 12 after a scoring timeout and a TV break and like a switch of field and everything, it's been 6 to 8 minutes since the last active non-special team snap of football usually at that time. If you can't stop that, then you can't play defense at all. Then you might as well just let the opponent score in the fourth quarter. So that's not an excuse in any way. On any given drive, you have to play defense.
Look at how much scoring has happened in the fourth quarter in just this league in 3 games. That's where most of this... yes, in football in general, I would say most of scoring happens in the fourth quarter. And that's the reason, is because the defense is gassed. Offenses take over. Offense doesn't get tired like defense. Offenses
also take more risk. In this case, in particular, with the up to 3-point conversions, you can score 9-10 points at a time. Not 10, 9 points at. You can score up to 9 points at a time. So offenses take more risk. You have the bigger potential for maximum scoring here, and also people keep their plays for crunch time, and they see the defensive tendencies. Defensive playbooks are smaller than offensive playbooks, right? This is just how it is. So the longer a football game goes on, the more it favors the offense, because the offensive coordinator has a deeper bag of tricks than the defensive coordinator. It's just inherent in how the nature of football works. All of those things play into it. But making the defense play one extra snap, pure passing down. You can come out in your NASCAR packages and just send 4 defensive ends out and just rush and defend the sticks. You gotta be able to do it as a defense. I'm sorry, you just gotta be able. If you don't do it, then that's a big enough weakness for you to deserve to lose games that are close. All right, that's the thing. Yeah, they have the Renegades have a good offense, top 3 offense in the league.
Well, I'm glad you admit that, because that's exactly how I see it. And I said,
true.
They need a better defense. This defense is not holding up. Yes, I said, they need rotational pieces.
Need a better defense. You're doing a lot better with the number 4 offense and the number 4 defense than you would with the number 1 offense and the number 8 defense. It's just how it goes.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Absolutely.
That's the big one.
I think if we just took the defensive production or ability to halt production of the Roughnecks, because I think their defense is actually pretty decent, even though they're getting beat up, and after their gas, that's where most of the scoring happens. But the Roughnecks, if you just took the Roughnecks defense and threw them on the Renegades, this team would be 2-1.
2-1.
I think so.
1-2. I'll say 1-2. I think AJ McCarron still dots them up just enough, but they win the one. I'll grant the win against DC, but not the other 2.
That win was splitting a hair in the first place, though. So you don't think their defense just being slightly better wins that game? You think the Battlehawks still win that game?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
When it was almost a 50. It was 51-49 at the end of that game. I don't see how they wouldn't have won that game with a better defense.
I think the Battlehawks still win that game. I trust McCarron to be able to do that against a slightly better defense also.
Yeah. So he's playing down to the competition.
He has a habit of doing that, actually, unfortunately, in Spring League so far, yeah. But no, he'll get it done. They'd be 1-2 though. I'd give you one. I'd give you one of the 2, let's say. They wouldn't have won both, but at least one. Probably the one against the Defenders.
I say they're 2-1, and the Stallion games would have been, or the Stallion game would have been a lot closer.
Nah.
But I don't think anything gets past that Stallions defense.
Nah, the Stallions thing is
on.
Untouchable. I'm not giving you that.
Yeah.
I think they're...
you don't have to give me that. I agreed with you.
Yeah. That's not happening.
They absolutely have the best defense in the league. I mean, what did they have? 8 sacks this past week? It was ridiculous.
They are on pace for like 90 sacks or something. Not 90. Yeah. No, like 70 or something. Like an unbelievable amount. Like, I think they have as many sacks now as they had the entirety of last season.
That's ridiculous.
Something like that. Something like that. There's a Stallion leading the league in receiving yards. There's a Stallion leading the league in rushing yards. There's a Stallion second in the league in rushing yards.
See, I think Skip Holtz just has a altar to a specific deity set up in his bedroom.
There's also a Stallion leading the league in return yards and kicking points.
Yeah, exactly. This is ridiculous.
Anything you can come up with, works.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like, we could bring Nathan Peterman out here and they'd still be winning.
I don't know about that. A big part of the Stallions is that they have this incredible quarterback room. Two
Do
and
they
a half.
though, or is it the team? Like at this point, you're on your fourth.
It's a synergy thing, right? It's like the team makes the quarterback better, and the quarterback the team.
Yeah.
You know, how does the Patriots dynasty happen for 20 years? It's because you have the most solid quarterback you can have for a 20-year consistent performance, and you also have a top 5 team around him every single year.
Yeah, but Matt Castle takes over and they miss the playoffs.
Yeah. One domino falls, right?
Yeah. But that's not true with the Stallions, though. It's every quarterback they throw out there.
Oh, I mean, Brissett and Garoppolo also did well for the Patriots when they were playing. So it's not every quarterback can replace Brady in there, but like some can.
Brissett started one game and lost, though.
Yeah.
Garoppolo, yes, he
true.
went 3-0. Yes.
3 or even 4, I think. So, yeah.
I think he was only out for 4 games. He was suspended for 4 games.
It could be. Yeah.
Garoppolo started 3 and got injured, which he does. I think he gets injured every 3 games throughout his entire career.
Could be. Oh, yeah. On average, every third game he's hurt.
Yeah.
That's probably not even false. I'd have to look that up. It's a sad state of affairs there. Yeah. But, that's how it goes. You know, that's how juggernauts happen. You build a complete team with everything. Yeah. That's how it is.
Can't disagree with that.
And then it suddenly works out. Yeah, I think Matt Corral could have the Juggernauts at the Steins at 3-0. I think Jamar Smith could have them at 3-0. And Adrian Martinez, obviously. And some combination of the 3 evidently also can do that.
But not Nathan Peterman, huh?
He's an NFL quarterback, unlike all the other 3. I think he could. I think Nathan Peterman also would.
I don't know how he's still getting jobs, to tell you the truth, but I would love to see him in this league just to see what the difference in the level of competition is, because he goes down in history as the worst NFL quarterback to ever start multiple games.
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
No.
Come on. Come on, man.
He had 1 game. He threw 5 picks, and people will they will write it on his tombstone, because that's the only thing they ever remember.
He has. I guess he has come in relief also and threw picks, but the guy has literally thrown more picks in his career than completions.
Is that true?
Yeah.
No, that's not true. He's got 85 completions and 13 picks. Not even close.
No way. 85 completions?
85 completions, yeah. For over a 50% completion percentage. 53%.
Who did he get those with?
I don't know. But he sure did.
How many games has he started? Does it say that?
I don't know how many games he's played, but he has 160 attempts. So from that, I would guess that he's played like probably around 8 to 10 total full NFL games.
I must be missing some. I mean, those weren't all with the Bills.
No, all with the Bills. Maybe he was with the Raiders briefly, or the Bears.
Yeah. But I remember him coming into a Raiders game, right? And throwing a pick and getting taken right back out.
Could be, yeah. But, as a backup, he's probably... a backup quarterback has to have very different characteristics than a starting quarterback. If you're truly a designated backup quarterback, you have to, first and foremost, you're almost a second in preparation. You are excellent at, analysis and film study and almost like a coach's voice. You're great at commanding a huddle. You're great at running practice squads and practice teams. And you're very, very good at preparing all the strategic side of things and helping out your starter and your head coach. Those are sort of underrated jobs, but the clipboard holder is real. Maybe he's just really good at that. And if he is, look for him to become a successful coach later in life as well. A lot of starting quarterbacks don't end up being coaches because they're too focused on executing on the field. A lot of backup quarterbacks end up being coaches too.
Yeah, while looking for it, I actually found this article that it is called The 16 Worst Quarterbacks in NFL History. I'm actually looking to see if his name is on here.
Oh my god.
Wow, why is Brogan Roback listed? Has he ever even started a game?
I think if you've stayed in the league for 7 years as a quarterback, that puts you probably in the top 5% of quarterbacks who've ever been in the NFL.
Number 13, Nathan Peterman.
No.
Record 1-4. So he did get a win somewhere.
Got a win. 4 touchdowns as well. Positive completion percentage.
So he kind of redeemed himself at some point then.
Yeah, he's not good. He's not a starting caliber, but he's a consistent backup, and that's only 32, not less than 32 players that are consistently backup year in and year out.
Maybe this was the stat I was thinking about. Touchdown to interception ratio.
4 to 13. But here's the thing. That one game he threw 5 picks, right? So you remove that one game, suddenly it's 4 to 8. It's only a 1 to 2 ratio. Mm-hmm. That's not that awful. Yeah, it's not good. It's not a starter.
Want to take a guess on who number 1 is?
A worst quarterback?
Yes, of all time.
I mean, it's going to be like an infamous case like Jamarcus Russell or Tim Couch or something, or Ryan Leaf. One of those three.
Ryan Leaf.
Yeah, yes. There we go. One of those three.
Jamarcus Russell is number 2.
Yeah, but see, those are only on the list, relatively speaking, relative to where they were drafted, because those were high picks, first-round picks. And most quarterbacks that come and go into the league, you never hear of because they're just doing practice squad or running the scout team. And they're there for like a year or two as a backup, and then they kind of move on without ever even playing a snap. Mm-hmm. So just making it for 7 years puts Peterman into a pretty rare club, I would say. Also earning more money than you and I could ever dream of just doing that.
Oh, I know.
So that's that's pretty good.
I could go out there and throw picks with the best of them.
Oh yeah. I'm really good at throwing picks, but see, that's the thing, right? I probably couldn't. Wouldn't be as good as like film analysis and preparing for defense and stuff. That's one thing. That I have no doubt that I would match his interception total.
Oh yeah.
No,
absolutely.
Here's a fun fact, though, a fun statistical fact. I was thinking about keeping it for a quiz. I read about it last week. I like to keep those almost unbelievable ones for quizzes. But I don't know when the next quiz is, probably in a year from now. So I'm just going to let you. I'm just going to tell you and just watch your amazement.
Right.
Jim Harbaugh used to be a quarterback for a long time in the NFL, right? He's a coach now. Has a career over the course of his career a higher yards per carry than Jalen Hurts.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. Jim Harbaugh averages 5 yards per carry for his career. Hurts 4.8.
Oh wow. Wow.
Pretty good.
I didn't realize he was that mobile.
He's not. He's not. The problem is that Jalen Hurts sneaks the ball like 10 times per game. Most of his rushes are 1 yards. Yeah. So he's dropping his average, right? He's the much more mobile quarterback, but they sneak it so much. So many of his rushes are for 0 to 2 yards, right?
Yeah.
That's what does
That reminds me of a stat that I saw, and do you remember where Arian
Foster?
No, the coach.
Bruce Arians?
Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Do you remember where he went to college?
As a player?
Wasn't it like Virginia or West Virginia?
Do you mean as a player?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Wasn't it West Virginia?
Oh, it was Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Okay.
Yeah.
So the same one that Mike Vick went to. So Mike Vick is the number 1 rushing quarterback ever at Virginia Tech.
Speaks for
Guess
itself.
who number 2 is?
Is it Bruce Arians?
It's Bruce Arians.
Oh, unbelievable.
Isn't that amazing?
That is pretty amazing. And the fact that it's held for that long is pretty amazing.
Yeah. And looking at him now, though, you're like, there's no way he was mobile.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look at a lot of these players and you think like there's no shot. But yeah, they used to be players and they used to actually be mobile. Yeah. That's true. Same for like Jim Harbaugh also. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Must have been very mobile for his era. He played in the 70s.
Yeah, probably so. I mean, he wasn't. But then again, that it held up, so he had to put down some yards.
I guess, yeah. He was probably considered like a mad scrambler back in those days.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me want to go back and watch like some Andy Reid footage of college or something. Just see all these guys who look completely immobile, like just to see how their play style when they played.
He rushed for 243 yards. That's still second in team history? Holy cow. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Man, that's rough.
Virginia Tech quarterback rushing record. Maybe it'll come up with that. Yeah, Bruce Arians. Wait, does this... No, this says Bruce Arians is number 1. It's for 1 season, by the way.
Oh, so...
Michael Vick. Michael
okay.
Vick is number 2.
The single season record. How is that possible?
Yeah.
How did Vick not have a season of more than 200 rushing yards?
I don't know.
No way, right? That's not possible. He did that every game.
Yeah. Yeah, it says... I got an ad popped up. Virginia Tech single season rushing... Oh, this is the rushing TDs record. Bruce Arians had 11. Mike Vick had 9 in a season. Mike Vick also has number 3 in that record, and Tyrod Taylor is number 4.
Tyrod Taylor. Yeah. I remember him being a little mobile.
Yeah.
Taylor was a little bit of a runner, that's right. He also did the NFL with the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Alright,
true.
I don't have time to search through all the Virginia Tech statistical records.
Man, that will be a sad task if you're like really digging deep into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, for Virginia Tech.
God,
But yeah, so there's some amazing stats out there.
That's pretty good. Yeah, if you find any of those, just bring them up on the show. I like to hear them. There's still a lot of probably unknown, forgotten to time, insane, unbelievable facts out there. Never hurts to bring them up. But
right.
yeah, I think we talked about everything here today with the UFL. To everyone watching, please leave your picks in the comments. You can leave your power rankings as well. And man, I bet you're crossing all your fingers for the Renegades to win. If this doesn't happen, it'll be a long bad week for you next week, because you're not gonna have anyone that you could be better than. Other than your own team. So let's hope for your sake they win, and for my sake, because I picked them. We disagree only on the Brahmas. I have them winning, you have them losing. I think the Panthers are going to win. I'm trusting Spring League Brock Purdy here, who's leading the league in passing touchdowns as well. But for the viewers, let us know what you think. Please also drop us a like, and we are going to see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard, ha, check.